So I'm on location again today to record this quick video for you on the gospel. Now there are many people out there who call themselves Christians who try to change the gospel. And there's a whole rash of them out there who are trying to reduce it down to 3 or 4 verses here in 1 Corinthians 15. And they will declare that this is the gospel and nothing more. That only this and this is the gospel and nothing more is the gospel. Well, those of you who read your New Testament, even in New King James, whatever version you're using in ASB, you are seeing that that's a lie. You can easily see that's a lie because it says that Jesus came preaching the gospel. Well, did he preach what's in 1 Corinthians 15? Eventually he did, but he preached much more. And right after that was stated at the beginning of his ministry, he preached for 3.5 years. And most of it was not about these elements in 1 Corinthians 15. So the gospel is more than just this. And we've been saying this again and again. But they will want to reduce it and limit it to only these verses out of the whole New Testament. And I'm going to prove to you where Paul says that it's more than that. He says explicitly that it's more than that. So I'm going to read you these verses that they want to limit it to first. It says, "Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel, which I preached unto you, which also ye have received, and wherein ye stand, by which also ye are saved, if ye keep in memory what I preached unto you, unless you have believed in vain." Okay? Now, he doesn't say what he preached there. But then he says, "For I delivered unto you first of all that which I also received, how that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the 3rd day according to the Scriptures, and that he was seen by Cephas, then of the 12. After that he was seen of above 500 brethren at once," etc., etc., etc. Now, they usually end it before it gets to the witnesses. And some will say, well, see, that's where they err, is that they don't add the witnesses in there. That's not where they err. That's part of it. But they err even more greatly by excluding all of the teachings of Jesus, which are part of the gospel. Now, notice what he says here. He says, "For I delivered unto you first of all that which I also received." And then he says, how that. That means the thing that he delivered first of all to them of the gospel was how Christ died for our sins according to Scriptures and. All of this, including the witnesses, are the first things he delivered to them according to the gospel, not the only things. He says clearly right here even that it's not the only things. "For I delivered unto you first of all that which I received, I also received, how that, This is what he received, and he delivered to them first of all." Okay? Now, let's look at our passage here that I want you to know about. It's on the website, under the list of sins in the Bible. So, 1 Timothy 1, 8 through 11. "But we know that the law is good, if a man use it lawfully, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine, according to the glorious gospel of the blessed God, which was committed to my trust." So this is clearly the same gospel Paul is referring to in 1 Corinthians 15. The gospel that was committed to his trust. And he says, according to the glorious gospel of the blessed God, which was committed to my trust. That means it wasn't made by Paul, and it wasn't only for Paul, but it was passed on because he said it was passed on to him in 1 Corinthians 15. Paul did not preach a different gospel than Jesus preached. They preached the same gospel. And it's much more than the resurrection and death and the eyewitnesses of Jesus' resurrection. It's much more. But those are the first things of it. Okay? And you must keep this in mind. It says right here, according to the glorious gospel. All of this, according to the glorious gospel. All of this that I just read to you is part of the gospel. And if you do not believe that, you do not believe God's testimony, where he says it right here in 1 Timothy 1, 8 through 11. There's a lot to think about. May the Lord bless you as you seek him with all your heart.